If you've had any experience with Tekken, or any fighting game really, you've almost certainly heard the term honest used to describe a character and their playstyle. Many content creators and pro players in the community will throw around this term, generally to describe the fairness level of a character. These characters rely on basic principles of the game that we'll discuss soon, to outplay their opponent rather than utilizing unfamiliar gimmicks or overpowered moves to win. Does this sound confusing and subjective yet? Because it is. The word honest has been used so widely by so many different people over the years that agreeing on a character being honest is basically impossible these days. There's not one single character in Tekken 8 who you can call honest and not get hundreds of people disagreeing with you. And one of the main reasons for that is because of the definition. If you ask me, an honest character, at its core, is a character who heavily relies on core Tekken fundamentals. I could make a whole video on this topic as well, but just to cover the short version, these fundamentals are generally accepted as being spacing, timing, movement, poking, and defense and whiff punishing, with those last ones being super broad. An honest character implies that the character you pick isn't doing the work for you, and you are actively outplaying your opponent to get the win. Your character was just a tool to achieve this with, not the reason you won. This definition immediately eliminates a couple of things. Gimmicky unpopular characters are out. There's quite a few unpopular characters that basically none of us know how to deal with. I still have no idea what Zafina does, and characters like these are pretty much impossible to beat unless you spend a ton of time to thoroughly understand them. Characters like these are generally built around confusing the opponent and throwing a ton of stuff at them that they've likely never seen before. Low, mid, high strings, weird animations, gimmicky setups and flowcharts. I'm sure you guys have experienced these many times, but our definition also excludes overpowered characters. Characters who are previously considered relatively honest, like Tekken 7 Dragunov, are now considered to be kind of the opposite of that, with Dragunov having a range of very overtuned moves. And I guarantee there's people typing in the comments right now about how Dragunov was never honest in Tekken 7, what are you talking about? And also people typing that Dragunov is super honest here in Tekken 8. This is the problem. In a game like Tekken, excluding characters with matchup checks and the top tiers essentially excludes everyone, at least in someone's eyes. And you also have to consider the skill differential between the Tekken community. If you watch a Tekken tournament, you might think every character looks pretty honest. That's because these are professional players who've been playing for almost all of their lives. They know what every character does, and a lot of times don't have to worry about any of this stuff. But for the other 99.9% of the community, yeah, we're gonna struggle against certain characters. That's just the nature of fighting games. Which is why I'll say again, you'll never have everyone agree on a character being honest in the Tekken community. It's pretty much impossible. Let's take a look at Paul Phoenix, for example. Paul has historically been considered an honest character by most pro players and content creators. He's a single-hit, timing-based character who relies on making reads of when you're going to press a button, scoring a counter hit, and then converting with his very high damage. This has always been Paul's playstyle, so I was pretty surprised to find out that Paul was actually hated by a surprisingly large amount of people who think he's very dishonest, claiming that his broken damage and safe launcher and counter hit options exclude him, along with him having some other gimmicky options that low-level Paul players love to use, like spamming his trooper roll, ultimate tackle, hop kick into 4 more hits, and whatever this string is. I'm sure you guys have seen it a lot. I hope you're starting to understand that there's no winning here. In a game where each character has a minimum of 100 moves, every character will have some weird stuff that you haven't seen before, and some people will always abuse that. Does this mean no character is truly honest? Well, yeah, kind of. Pretty much every character that I would consider honest definitely has some gimmicky stuff. Shaheen has his charge up and dumb heat stuff, Claudio has his heat while running 2, and strings, I guess? I don't know, I got a lot of comments saying that Claudio can't be considered honest because of this stuff. I don't really get it, but a lot of people think that. It's like everyone has a reason for why a character is not honest and why you didn't earn your win. And it's pretty funny seeing the back and forth with people trying to justify their respective opinions. If you ask me, Kazuya is the epitome of honest here in Tekken 8, even after his recent buffs. He relies on having very strong movement and execution with his electric, has a complete lack of panic buttons, forcing him to block far more than other characters, doesn't have any gimmicky weird strings or setups, and relies more so on implementing mind games to set up his 50-50. Like, this character should be as honest as it gets in my opinion, but a lot of people hate him and think the nature of him having a 50-50 that forces you to guess in some situations means he's somehow not honest. Someone has a reason why every character is cheap and unfair, and that's unfortunately just part of the Tekken community. People hate characters in this game more than any other fighting game I've played, and hopefully you've seen that through some of my videos recently. Hating sells. Sorry to interrupt the video, but if you guys are enjoying this and want to see more scripted Tekken 8 videos like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's free to do and only takes like 2 seconds. It really goes such a long way in supporting my dreams of hopefully one day doing this as a job. Thank you guys so much, and let's get back to the video. I think the term honest is pretty dumb the way it's currently being used, as it kind of assumes everyone is on the same level, and as I mentioned earlier, that's certainly not the case. The majority of us in the community don't go to tournaments. We just play online. And if you go online and face a Paul who spams this random garbage, then you're probably not going to have a great impression of Paul, are you? I think the term honest should more so apply to high-level play and above. In high-level Tekken, let's say Tekken God and above, you aren't going to get away with using Paul or Claudio's random unsafe strings. You're going to get blown up for it. So you get forced to play the character the way the pros do, or at least something similarly resembling that, which is generally a very honest playstyle. Good movement, poking, good defense while you look for whiffs and counter hits. Pretty simple. But this high-level rule doesn't eliminate every character. There are certainly characters in the high ranks, all the way to the top of offline tournaments, who get away with some pretty crazy character-specific stuff, to the point where it's pretty clear the character is doing a lot of heavy lifting for them. The gimmicky stuff definitely eases out the higher level you go, but it's always still there to an extent. And remember, a lot of people consider broken top tiers to be cheap and dishonest too, and most pro players will tell you that it's the smartest move to pick the best character. So then you could argue all the pro players are dishonest for playing the best characters. Do you see why this argument can just keep going forever? So here's my solution to the honest definition problem. The term should die for the majority of Tekken players, because it really doesn't apply to most of us. The reality is the lower ranks are going to be a clown fiesta of spam and gimmicks. This is not new to Tekken 8, it's always been this way, and even so-called honest characters will find a way to cheese you. At that level, you probably don't know any matchups anyway, so what does it matter who's honest or not? Sure, there's always going to be characters who win more than others. The win rate stats in all ranks is actually pretty good data for this. But when you're at a level where neither player knows what's going on or knows any of the matchups, I don't think it's a term worth using. Instead, I think it's better to use easy and difficult, as if you ask me, it's pretty objective that some characters are easier than others. It just seems like the term honest is what's triggering people. Let's stick to easy and difficult to classify characters. But oh wait, Kazuya is actually easy if you think about it, because Devil Fist and his 50-50 is so cheap and it's just so unfair. I can't do this again. In multiplayer games like this, it's impossible to get anyone to agree on anything. The reality is, just like every multiplayer game, people are gonna hate characters. And I think us as a community have to be more accepting of that. You shouldn't feel the need to go out on an all-out war when someone on Twitter calls your main easy or dishonest. Who cares? Whether it's true or not true, it doesn't really matter. As long as you're having fun with the game and enjoying your character, who cares what anyone else thinks? I know this game is stressful, and I know this game can be annoying sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's a game. You're supposed to enjoy yourself. Anyway, that's about all I've got for today's video. If you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more scripted Tekken 8 content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really goes a long way. I know it's been a while since my last upload. I've just been super busy with other stuff, but I'm back now and I have a ton of videos planned. I'm going to be looking to upload between 4 to 5 videos a week, plus maybe a couple streams as soon as I get that figured out. So stay tuned. I also want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube members and Patreon patrons. Seriously, thank you guys so much. You guys are the best. Anyway, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Take it easy.